There have been a couple of episodes of this podcast that nearly didn't make it out on time because I'd procrastinated about getting them edited and ready to publish. Maybe you're the same about important tasks. We know what we should be doing, but for some reason, we can't bring ourselves to do it. Well, in this episode, we might just change all that for you. We have with us Wilson Obeneme, growth and productivity partner and founder and CEO of The Growth Plug, who helps people build their personal productivity system, overcome procrastination, and free up time to focus on their personal goals. Welcome to the Gen XZ Exchange. I'm Chris Perkins, Gen X parent, now 50-something empty nester.
And I'm Lily Perkins, Gen Z career explorer. We swap insights on career choices, work, and life in general.
So whether you're a Gen X parent trying to figure out midlife's challenges,
or a Gen Z young professional or student figuring out adulthood, you're in the right place.
Now, Lily, I think you may well have inherited this trait from me. I can be a master procrastinator. I can be highly motivated by a deadline. Very rarely don't get something done on time, but it can often be a bit of a last-minute scramble and involve some late nights and early mornings to get things complete. How about you?
So I've definitely inherited that from you. So thanks for that. That's a really good thing for you to have passed down. It's only when I realise a deadline's right around the corner that I can actually motivate myself to do whatever work it is that needs doing. So the whole process usually involves lots of caffeine, noise-cancelling headphones, maybe some tears, maybe a bit of a breakdown. And it's been that way since school because I remember I would have like maths homework due first period and I'd be sat in registration, like finishing it off 5 minutes until the bell rings. And then unfortunately that's followed me into uni a little bit as well. So definitely something I'd like to overcome.
Well, you kept that secret. I didn't know it was always a last minute rush to do the homework. Hopefully you're getting your assignments in on time. But here to save us from all of that procrastinating is Wilson Obeneme. Welcome to the Gen XZ Exchange.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to be on the podcast. Thank you, Chris and Lily. Really excited to be here. And hopefully we get all the things we need to overcome procrastination.
Absolutely. And we are really pleased to have you here, particularly because you and I had one of those kind of small world moments a couple of months ago. Got talking on LinkedIn and had a call. And it was a week that I'd travelled down from Scotland to stay at my mum's for a conference I was attending in London. And we somehow realised that you live about 1.5 miles from my mum. And in what sounded like your very organised schedule for the week, you were running to the local leisure centre to then go for a swim. Yeah. And that leisure centre is literally round the corner from my mum's house. It's the swimming pool I learned to swim in as a kid. And we met there for a coffee. So it was lovely to meet in person. And you told me the most amazing story about how incredibly productive you were from a very young age. Do you want to share some of that with us?
Yeah, for me, I had to start learning to get things done from a very young age because I set this goal for myself. My dad actually, so in my house, we have these exams back in Nigeria where I come from, where typically you write that exam. We call it like the senior secondary school 3. Think about it. Usually it should take you 3 years to write that exam. But my dad, for some reason, felt it was a good idea to try after your first year.
Oh, wow.
And so, and he was like, hey, just give it a shot. You're smart. Why don't you give it a shot after your first year? And obviously that required me to study extra hard to get things done. And I'll say it really changed a lot about me because I had to create a routine, obviously with the support of my parents and my siblings, to go into that venture. And that really just kickstarted everything I know about productivity because all of a sudden I had to learn how do I maintain my focus, my concentration, which is not easy, to be honest. How do I focus on the important things? How do I conserve my energy? And all of these elements, how do I even work on my mindset? All of these things play into getting things done and productivity. So it's a long story, but I think that kickstarted my journey towards being very efficient as much as I can.
You did pass the exam after just 1 year of study, and have been on that kind of accelerated path sort of ever since.
And then that also went through, I went through secondary school, university, even at work. I think everyone said, seeing it, they're like, you're so organized, you get things done faster than usual. How do you do that stuff? And I think over time, I was already mentoring people on it. But with time, I just decided to put a bit more structure. What are the things I study? How do I schedule my activities? And then I started reading a bit more like a research to understand what is the science behind it. You know, sometimes you start things off just because you enjoy them, but later you realize that there's actually science behind it. And so that was how I started. And here I am now, helping other people do the same. But what I have to say first is everyone procrastinates. That for sure. So that we need to get that out there. But the question is it a habit? Is it something that just happens, or is it a habit? And finally, is it your identity? I think that's where it gets really messy, right? So one-offs, it happens. Sometimes I procrastinate. And because I know it's not normal for me to procrastinate, I actually don't feel bad about it because I don't procrastinate on very important stuff. So, just to make that clear, no one is perfect. But the question is, how often do you do that? Is that now who you are? If that is the case, then you need help. Like, you need all the support you can to get past that. For me, every month, I have like some days where I just, first of all, every week, every Sunday, you barely find me online. It's just something I do because I know I don't want that noise. I stay away from work. I stay away from my system. I just find time to pray, meditate, spend time with my wife and my kid. And then my friends reach out to my family. Like everyone who works with me knows that on Sundays, this guy is literally off the grid. He only comes online towards the end of the day. And then there's some days within the month where I do the same thing, like for 3 days straight. You barely find me active. I'm just calm. I want to rest and replenish my energy. Yeah.
No, that's good to hear, because I think there's such a big focus on the whole like hustle culture and like pushing yourself to your absolute maximum, but actually taking the time out to rest and chill a bit. Like, you're not going to be able to fill any of the cups if your own cup isn't full. And you mentioned a wee bit about how you like to do research into the habits that you were forming and things. So we always like to include a bit of research on our podcast topics. So for those of us that maybe need a bit of reassurance that we're not the only ones challenged by this, would you be able to share some current statistics about procrastination with us?
Oh, yeah, sure. First of all, you're not alone. In fact, it's affecting more people than we think. There's this one by World Metrics that says that about 20 to 25% of adults are chronic procrastinators. So that is a tag. It's not just procrastinating, it's who they are.
Right. Yeah, that's me. I'm in there.
And I think the one every one of us can relate to is like college students, right? 80 to 95% admit to procrastinating at least some of the time. They know what to do. They know they need to study, but they just can't do it. Netflix is calling, I guess. So you rather 100%. Go for Yeah, also in the workforce, to be honest, this doesn't just happen to college students, even those who are fully embedded within the workforce. A survey was taken with over 2,219 employees in the UK, actually, and it was found out that 88% procrastinate at least 1 hour a day. In fact, I'll give an interesting statistics. As part of my coaching program, we get to the point where we look at time management. And then I ask people, how many hours do you work a day? And they're like, 9 to 5, like that's like 8 hours. I'm like, okay, within that 8 hours, how many hours do you really think you work? And then everyone sits back and you're like, that's true. What do I actually do by 9 to 5? And then statistically, within 9 to 5, people work for just 3 hours, 30 minutes on the average.
Wow, that's not.
Yes.
That's not a lot at all.
No.
Yeah, most people spend their time on their computers, on websites, chatting away, looking at the news on their phones. But they just aggregate everything and like it's 9 to 5. If your employees are actually to track your computer, you will be amazed at how much time you don't spend working.
If my boss is listening, I think I would say I hope I'm above average and he gets more than 3.5 hours a day out of me. But it would be interesting to track because everyone can get distracted with those things.
Indeed. And to be fair, we as humans, right, it's difficult to sit still and just do something like consistently over that number of hours. You need to be, you need to be in the flow state, as we call it in the productivity world, to be able to achieve that. And it's not something that happens every day. So, so those are some statistics. Procrastination at work. The UK professionals may lose up to 21 hours per week. That is also a statistics that is available out there. Roughly 2.8 working days each month. Like they procrastinate on the job. So you're not alone. Let's put it that way. And the good thing is, just like other people are overcoming it, anyone can overcome it as well with the right guidance.
I mean, up to 21 hours a week. If you work full time, that is half the working week. So that would level out at that 3.5, 4 hours a day is actually productive time. So, I think we all feel the pressure of work. And one of the ways to deal with that is to back off from it to some extent. And you talk about the causes of procrastination and different types or forms of procrastination, Wilson. What do you mean by that?
Yes. So procrastination, there are different reasons it happens, and there are different, I'll say, levels to it. And it's one of the best ways to overcome it is to identify what is your predominant way of procrastinating, what causes it, right? If you're able to understand that, then obviously awareness is like everything. So I know what triggers that procrastination, then I can do something about it. And I'll reference a work by Ali Abdaal, who is also known as a productivity coach. He's quite big. I'm a huge fan, by the way. He wrote this book, Feel Good Productivity, which I read in my book club with people who are procrastinating. So I get them to read a book on productivity, and then we try to implement what we learn every week. And so you can imagine. And he mentioned 3 key reasons for procrastination, or that stops people from doing what they should do. The first one is lack of clarity, and I completely agree. In fact, in my coaching program, the first thing we start with is clarity. Most people think they just procrastinate because they want to procrastinate. Not really. Most times they don't know what to do. As basic as it sounds, most people don't actually know what they want to do with their time. It takes a lot to be intentional about, what do I actually want to do with my time? And if you don't have that figured out, most likely you will procrastinate. Not because you want to, but because you actually don't know what to do.
Yeah, that makes sense for me.
The only thing that comes to mind to do is then go to your phone. Maybe I'll find something to do when I'm on Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah, a bit of shopping, a bit of scrolling, or funny video someone sent me. Yeah, sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So lack of clarity is like the predominant one that happens most time. The next is the fear of failure, right? So mostly, and this is when we talk about things that really move the needle in people's lives, like those decisions. People procrastinate subconsciously because they are scared.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I'm currently coaching someone who is trying to transition to another role, and she knows she needs a job, but she just doesn't send her application. She doesn't put in applications. And when she joined the program, then I asked her, like, what's going on? You know you want to do this, so clarity is not the problem. Why haven't you done it? And then what we realized is every week she had a new excuse. And that's one of the ways to know that you're probably scared. When you find a different excuse every single time, there's something else. It's not those excuses are not the reason why you're not doing. And after we went deeper and deeper, then she realized she's actually scared of rejection, of getting like a rejection from her application. And that was what has kept her from applying. So we had to work on her mindset to realize that, hey, it's part of life to face rejection sometimes. Yeah. It's hurtful, I understand, but it's something you need to overcome. And by the time she was able to go beyond that, now she's putting out applications, but she's also mentally ready.
Yeah.
And then the final reason from that book is friction. So there are things that usually hinders people from getting started, and that leads to procrastination. The thought of doing it, you might feel like, oh, it's so difficult. You see, there's already friction there. So the question is, what can I do to remove or reduce that friction so that I can get started? So things like that. There are other reasons, but those are the top 3 for me as well. But you have things like perfectionism, low motivation for different reasons. Maybe your energy level is just low that period. You might be experiencing burnout, you don't even know. That can also affect you. Distractions. I'm sure we can all relate with that in today's world. And maybe you're just truly overwhelmed. All of these things can add up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I could certainly relate to what you were saying about friction to get started. I think my two biggest challenges are putting things off because I can't motivate myself to do them. And then I almost find when I actually do get started on those tasks, they never take as long or as hard as I think they're going to be. So I'd love to know what advice you might have for overcoming that. And the other challenge I have is that I try and block time out for important tasks, to have that kind of focus time. I'll maybe block, time tomorrow morning to focus on an important task. But often when that time comes around, something more urgent or more important maybe comes in, kind of hijacks it, lands in my inbox, and that blocked out time has gone. So you've got to work out a way of, somehow getting back to that important focus. Any tips for either of those kind of situations, Wilson?
Yeah. And by the way, these are like popular challenges as well. Like people face them a lot where you want to get started, but you're just dragging your feet and all of that. With that, we always say, depending, and there are two sets of people, and I think it's good to mention this. The more you understand yourself, then you know what route to take with the first challenge, which is I want to get started, but I don't know if I can just keep going and all of that. So there are people who get their motivation from the little wins they have, right? The fact that I'm able to move from step 1 to step 2 it fuels my motivation. Then maybe I can do step 3, step 4. Mm-hmm. So if you're that person, you use the method we call the low-hanging fruit. Start with the easiest task you can do and do it well. And for people who they gain their motivation from wins, right? That is a perfect way to keep yourself going and to build momentum. And then you have the second category that the way it works for them is, hey, I want to get the most difficult thing out of the way, because I know my energy will decline over the day, like as the day goes by. So I'll rather handle the most difficult things first before I do the other things. Those ones we say the method they use is eat the frog. It's very difficult. It's disgusting. But that is what you need to do. So depending on how you react to things and how you find your motivation, which is very important for you to actually learn, then that any of these methods can work for you to overcome the first challenge and maintain that momentum to keep going, right? Yeah, and then for the second one, quickly on that. So prioritization is everything when it comes to being productive, right? You have to know, there's this metrics called the Eisenhower metrics. It's urgent versus important, right? So you have to, there are 4 boxes there. You do the things that are very urgent and very important. Prioritize the things that are important but are not urgent. You get to prioritize those ones. You get to schedule them. Then you also have the ones that they are not important but they are urgent, right? Those ones, they're tricky because it feels like you have to do them, but you don't really have to do them because they will just take your time. And then you have the final part of that box, which is they are not urgent, they are not important, one of which is spending so much time on social media. It is not that important and it's not that urgent.
No.
So just knowing what the goal is to always be around the important but not urgent, because it gives you time to be proactive. You're not reactive.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So what happens over time is if you yourself always moving, like something urgent comes up, then there might be a gap there because you're most likely being reactive, right? So the question is, how do I move from being that reactive person to being that productive person who then plans the most important things at a particular time? And then I leave space in my calendar for urgent stuff, but the most important things, they have to be done.
Yeah, I think it's that tension between the priority 2 and 3. You're wanting to get to the important but not urgent, but sometimes it's more urgent things come in. And maybe blocking more time out specifically to allow for that, because it happens fairly regularly, would give me that buffer.
Yeah, I think everything that you've said also applies to me, but I think also when you were talking about the perfectionism stuff, Wilson, that's definitely a big one for me, because I don't want to get started on anything because I'm already thinking about what grade I'm going to get or how the end product's going to look. And if it's not perfect, then that kind of scares me off and I end up leaving it to the last minute. And then also like time blindness. So I think I can be a bit in denial about deadlines, and it's not until they're creeping right round the corner that I like see them in front of my face and I'm like, oh, oops. So I think I've got more time than I do, and I'll somehow just manage it, which obviously doesn't really happen without a lot of late night cramming and meltdowns and stuff. So what kind of tips could you give me to help with those side of things?
Oops. Yeah, those ones, they're quite serious, to be honest.
Yeah, I need help.
The one with perfectionism, what I always say to people who come to me, and it doesn't sound very nice, but I think it's always the starting point. Get comfortable with failure.
Yeah.
It's not something people like to hear.
Not at all.
Because why would I want to fail at something at first? Mm-hmm. No, I want to get it all at once. Mm-hmm. That is the ideal scenario. The real life is most times you don't get something perfectly the first time you try.
Yeah.
And you have to get comfortable with that. It's okay. It should be part of what fuels your learner's mindset. So one is get comfortable with failure, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying fail all your life. And the good thing is you won't even fail all your life, because one is when you fail, you get to learn. The second is having that learner's mindset. I always say to people, don't waste the failure. That is the second part. The first rule is get comfortable with failure. But the second, do not waste that experience of failure. And how can you benefit from it is by learning from it as quickly as possible.
Right.
In fact, in the industry where I worked for most of my career, the energy industry, we have this term that says fail fast. Like if you're going to fail as fast as you can. So that
just rip the Band-Aid off.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't take too long to fail. If not, you're wasting your time. You will get demotivated over time. So it's okay to not get things the first time, but importantly, make sure you learn from it. And then with respect to time blindness, I think people wish they had more hours in the day. Like maybe if I had more than 24 hours, well, I say to them, it won't change anything. Yeah. Even if you had more than 24 hours. It's always about priority and discipline. Mm-hmm. Discipline is not something most people like to hear these days, right? Because it's like it's tough, but you have to be disciplined with your time.
Yeah.
Right. The people we admire, the world richest people, the famous people, they have 24 hours. So definitely 24 hours is not the problem. If everyone who has succeeded still has 24 hours, then 24 hours cannot be the problem.
Yeah, you're right. I know sometimes I feel like I just need to look at the clock and go, this is the date, this is the time, like get real with yourself. Because I think it was Beyonce that said that about having 24 hours in a day or something. So maybe I just need to remind myself, Beyonce.
Yeah, indeed. 24 hours. And there's a simple equation we use like for our time splits, the 888 rule, right? And I think it helps to avoid that or to manage that time blindness. So 8 hours for rest, like that includes sleeping and being okay. 8 hours for active work, things that your day to day you get to do like intentionally.
Yeah.
And then 8 hours to just relax and spend it with other things. So even if you want to be time blind, you have 8 whole hours in the day to do whatever you want to, but at least prioritize 8 hours of your day to do something really meaningful and just be disciplined around it.
Yeah, and 8 hours is quite a long time.
And I guess it doesn't need to be 1 8-hour block, does it? I mean, that could be chunks of 30 minutes or 60 minutes.
Exactly.
Or 2 hours, really focused work, and then an hour or two to kind of rest and recharge, breaking it down into smaller chunks.
I think it ties to what we call the work-rest cycle. So for every given hour of work, there should be a structured rest period, and that depends on your attention span. Right. So some people can go like an hour undistracted. Some other people can, like after 20 minutes, they are distracted. So the question is, you need to know what your attention span is. Like how long can I go before I know actively, like all of a sudden, even though I'm trying to focus on my book, my mind is everywhere. Right. So when you know that, it helps you to actually plan. And if you work that maths out very well, at the end of the day, you still notice it's almost 8-8, to be honest.
Yeah.
So just like you said, Chris, it doesn't have to be like 8 consecutive hours. You can split that based on what works best for you.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's good as well, because I feel like I've seen, I think on social media, like people talking about the difference between rest as in sleeping and like rest where like you're not on your phone, you're not inputting your brain with loads of social media and stuff like that as well. So I maybe just need to be a bit more mindful about how I'm splitting up my 888. So this is all really good and helpful. I just want to ask, from the work that you do, if you have any other steps that you've not mentioned already that can help people overcome procrastination?
Oh, yeah, there are a couple. And I'll mention one of my favorites, which my clients did. Whenever we get to this agreement, they automatically stop procrastinating sometimes. It's where you get to do things in public. So let's say you have an exam and probably you want to maybe study for 3 hours every day. So for the next 1 week, I don't know, whatever your target is, you go on social media, since we love social media, to say, hey, everyone, I am going on a challenge, and every day I'm going to keep you updated that I studied for 3 hours.
That's quite good.
Then usually we come up with this agreement. So it's like a coach-client agreement where we say, hey, you agree to this. If you don't do this, then this is the repercussion. This is the consequence. So maybe it might be giving money to charity. And yeah, we've had people do that. So if you don't keep up with that, you will give money to charity or something.
I guess that kind of softens the blow of not getting it done, because you're like, oh, at least I still did something nice. That's quite nice, yeah.
So where it comes in handy is, for example, someone wanted this, I think it was a watch. And we're like, hey, if you don't get this done, we'll exchange the money for your watch. You give it to charity. And she's like, no, I have to get it done.
That's quite high stakes. I feel like that would motivate me as well. Someone was like, oh, I'm going to trade in your favourite pair of shoes unless you do your assignment. I feel like it would be done in half an hour.
Exactly. And by the time we come up with things like that, sometimes it just helps people get started. So one is just doing things in public is a form of accountability, to be honest. And very important, if you have an accountability partner, I think it also helps a lot. So 3 things I would say. One is try the public one, if you're into that. Yeah. Secondly, get an accountability partner, maybe your friend, your parents, anyone. And then thirdly is just, exchanging things for that you typically want for yourself, like as a result of not doing something, you give it out to some other person. So you end up doing something good, but I think we get it.
I have probably a combination of doing something in public and an accountability partner, which is telling a colleague when I will deliver something for them. So I'll get this to you by Thursday or whenever it needs to be. I've made that commitment, and then I want to deliver on that commitment. You know, you don't want to not deliver on what you promised for them. And that really helps me. So accountability partner, Lily, that could help. Study partner or anyone else that can keep you on the hook for that. Yeah,
definitely. So I know one of the things you talk about is the hidden costs of procrastination. Could you tell us a bit more about those as well?
Oh, yeah. So for me, the biggest hidden cost of procrastination is what it does to you as a person and how it affects your confidence, right? And I feel very sad usually when I meet people and like they give themselves the tag, I am a procrastinator, I can't help myself. They didn't get there in one day. It took a history of doing the same thing over and over again. And it moved from a one-time activity to a habit, and then finally their identity. And I've seen very smart people not stand up because, or very people who are talented, not being able to go past it because now they've accepted that tag. Hey, it's just who I am.
Yeah.
I can't even help myself. And I think that's one big cost that no one should pay, because once that creeps in, it literally affects every other aspect of your life. It affects every other thing. So even the relationships, right? The things that matter to you, your job, all of a sudden it's like, well, this is how I am. I can't get things done. So that's why I tell people, as much as I understand that procrastination happens, don't ever get to the point where you accept that is who you are. That's not who you are. It's something that can be worked on, and it's something you should intentionally work on because it has bigger effects than most times we think.
Yes, if you accept, you will procrastinate from time to time. Everyone does, but you're not internalizing that. That was something that happened, but it's not who I am. I will do something different next time. That will help. Because it's something that I have to constantly focus on. These are deeply ingrained habits. You've got time, Lily, to set the path to, not be a habitual procrastinator. But sometimes it can be difficult to overcome. I like what you said about the quick wins, the small steps, just making progress in a small way. And then I think that's when I find the thing I was putting off that I thought was going to be difficult actually isn't as difficult as I think it was going to be, and, get the thing completed. Are there any other micro habits that you can recommend that people can put into practice to beat procrastination?
Oh, yeah. There are a couple I can suggest. One very, very important is how you start your day. I think it's something people need to understand. The way you start your day can affect you for the rest of the day, right? And I think, Chris, we talked about this when we connected. One mistake a lot of people do is they start their day on their phone. You wake up and you go straight to social media. You go to Instagram, TikTok.
I'm feeling called out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a lot of it's detrimental to you as a person, and you don't know it. And here's the science behind it. You're looking at something that is high. It's a high volume content and high velocity content. So you're spending maybe 30 seconds on a short video, and then to the next. Your brain is just waking up, for crying out loud, and you've literally just packed it with so much things. So at that very moment, the dopamine level just skyrockets at literally after waking up. What do you think will happen naturally? It will start to decline because you've peaked so early in the day with the wrong things that you feel drained because mentally you've used a lot of brain power for the wrong thing.
I think I'm really bad for that. I think I've gotten into the habit of thinking, I kind of need to, if I'm going to make it up in time to get to my morning lecture, I need to blast my brain with something to wake me up so I can get out of bed. But then that's become such a habit. It's not waking me up. It's just giving me that big spike. And then it makes sense that halfway through the day, I'm I don't want to do anything and I feel all useless and blah, blah, blah. So that's definitely a habit that might help me. I should probably try that.
Yeah.
And I can attest to the difference it makes, because you did suggest that when we met, Wilson. And I just want to say thank you, because I put it into practice the next day. And most days since, I changed that habit, because I would wake up, kind of check the phone. But from when you explained how that dopamine spike, then you crash and you've used a lot of your kind of cognitive energy or kind of on the wrong things early on. Now I don't. So I'll get up, get showered, get dressed, go downstairs, make breakfast before I will look at my phone. I do tend to then check it when I'm having breakfast, but that is maybe 20, 30 minutes after waking up, so you're in daylight or, lights are on, you're up and ready for the day. And it really has made a difference in terms of my start to the day. So thank you for that tip. And
you're welcome.
For anyone that's thinking, yeah, that's me, I roll over when the alarm goes off and pick up my phone, just try not doing that for maybe the first half hour. And it certainly made a difference.
Stop saying anyone when it's obviously aimed at me, Dad. No, I think that's me sold. I think I'll need to try that tomorrow morning, because I know it's quite a bad habit and I've become very reliant on it. So I'll give it a go. Give it a go, guys.
Great. And we look forward to
hearing the updates.
To the results. Yeah.
All my work getting done so much better.
Well, you've just kind of gone public with that challenge that you've taken on, Lily. So,
well, there we go. We're killing 5 birds with one stone here. This is perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this has all been really useful. So thank you so much, Wilson, for coming on, because like you gathered at the start of this, we are 2 of the worst offenders when it comes to procrastination. And I think this was definitely needed, a bit of a wake-up call. And I know my friends and I will all benefit from these ideas, and it'll make us a lot more productive at uni and at work. So if people want to get to know more about you and the work you do, what's the best way for them to get more information and to get in touch with you?
First, thank you once again for having me on the podcast. And I hope they find what we shared valuable to them.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active there. I think that's the most active social platform I'm on. And I guess you know why now. For some reason, when I'm on Instagram, I feel drained. I don't know why. I even run from X because the information is just too much for me. Right? And by the way, I'm not old, so it's not like it's yeah, most times people be like, you sound like an old man. No, I'm not. Yeah, but you can reach me on LinkedIn. I do also host a podcast where I get people to talk about things that generally helps other people build like the life they want. Yeah, that's another place. You can check me out, the Growth Blog podcast on YouTube, Wilson Obeneme on LinkedIn. Instagram, you can see me at the Growth Blog, but not very active. Yeah, and I'm always happy to take questions and connect with people. So feel free to shoot me a DM and let's connect.
Cool. Yeah, we'll put the links to those in the show notes so that people can reach you. I think what I'm taking away from everything that you've talked us through is that it is something that you're able to change through those daily habits and it not becoming part of your identity. It is just about consistency, and those small steps can make a big difference rather than constantly putting things off. Just kind of get started. Those small wins, make progress towards the goal, and particularly an appreciation of the time window that you've got available. So you're not leaving it till the last minute, because that's something that I do still fall foul of. So that's going to be my focus. How about for you, Lily?
So I think a small win that I could maybe try and bag is breaking that habit of going on my phone first thing, because I know that I'm really guilty of that and I know it's not good for my brain. So that would have a physical effect on my motivation through the day. But then also I think the stuff you were talking about, Wilson, about the fear of failure and my perfectionism kind of tripped me up before I've even began. So I do just kind of need to get over myself a little bit and get into the Beyonce mindset of having the same 24 hours in the day as everyone else. And if I don't get 100% on an assignment, it's not the end of the world, because I'll just learn from the failure. So yeah.
Well, fantastic. And for anyone listening, if you've got something from this episode that you can use, don't procrastinate. Go straight to your podcast app and give us a 5-star rating, or even write a short review saying that you've got something from this episode with all the advice that Wilson has given us. And it's something that we'll probably come back to in future episodes. Lily, maybe get an update from you on the challenge in terms of how that's going with not looking at your phone first thing. Wilson, anything you want to say in closing?
Well, I would just say go out there, live a life by design and not by default. You don't have to do what everyone does. Choose the life you want, and you're capable of living that life. For me, that's my message to the world, really. Find your uniqueness, find meaning, because like I talked around the clarity part, if you're not clear on what you want to do with your time, procrastination is inevitable. Find that thing that really excites you, that you feel satisfaction from, and just do it. You have one life, so walk towards it and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Great message. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to chat and to catch up, and hopefully we'll all be more productive as a result. Thank you.
Thank you. In our next episode, we'll be exploring the topic of going alcohol free. Ahead of the Christmas party season, if you think your relationship with alcohol can sometimes be problematic, or you've thought whether you should cut down or stop, either temporarily or permanently, we have a special guest coming on who can help with that.
So you can follow us on LinkedIn. The links are in the show notes, or you can contact us on SpeakPipe if you'd like to send us a message. But for now, thank you for listening to this episode of the Gen XZ Exchange.